Hello, my name is Sabrina. Today we're going to go over exam 2. And for question 1, we're going to be talking all about sponges. We're going to talk about the anatomy of the sponge, the functions of the sponge, the cellular and molecular makeup of the sponge. We're going to talk about the life stages, how long they've been around, the evolution, and for question 2, we're going to be talking about water molecules. We're going to go over evaporation, transpiration, and evapotranspiration. And we're particularly going to talk about fresh groundwater and water potential for the water molecules. So question 1, sponges. Sponges are marine vertebrates, meaning they live in the water. They are among some of the simplest and some of the most revolutionary creatures known. So, records show that sponges were one of the first organisms to come around, but they've also been around for millions of years. Their functions are complex and they are vital contributors to the ecosystem. They do not contain a brain or any other organs like other animals. Most animals do have brain and organs, but they do have a way to survive. Sponges lack the body tissues, muscles, and nervous system, so their bodies depend on specialized cells to help them stay in place while it filters and they circulate water. That process is called mesophyll. But even though these sponges lack the nerves and the muscles, their cells are still able to communicate and function. Like I like to think about our brains. Our brains send signals throughout our body telling us what to do, but then our body also sends us messages back to our brain, and it's just a whole system. Well, sponges don't have brains, so they have to depend on their specialized cells. And it's through a molecular mechanism such as endocytosis, signal transduction, and gene regulation. Endocytosis is when the food particles are engulfed into the cell's membrane by receptor-mediated endocytosis. Signal transduction is when cells respond to chemical signals in this water because sponges lack the synapses. That's like the nerves for humans. They use basic signaling proteins. Gene regulation is just like when they repair and heal themselves. So gene regulation is when the molecular pathways allow reprogramming during regeneration, growth, and repair damage. Water goes through the sponge through tiny pores of canals and chambers. I really do think of a actual real sponge when I read that because you see the little holes in the place where they absorb the water or release. Oh, now I'm sounding silly. I'm sorry. Capturing the microscopic particles and oxygen along the way. Water exits through the osculum, completing a highly efficient circulation system that's powered by the cell motion. The sponge has a team of specialized cells called coniocytes, porocytes, and ambiocytes. Coniocytes line the sponge's internal chambers, and it creates a way to trap the food particles. Porocytes form the pores that lead the water into the sponge's body, and they are considered to be gatekeepers of the water entry. So these tell us what is allowed to be in the sponge, how much the sponge can bring in, but also how much is to let out. So water exits through the osculum, completing a high-efficient circulation system powered entirely by cell motion. The sponge has a team of specialized cell coniocytes, porocytes, and ambiocytes. Coniocytes line the sponge's internal chambers and create a water flow while trapping food particles. Porocytes form the pores that lead into the sponge's body, and they are considered to be the gatekeeper of water entry. Ambiocytes roam through the mesophyll, and distributes the nutrients that aid in the reproduction and secretes materials for structural decentralized system of the sponge's cellular function, and it allows it to adapt, regenerate, and survive in several different conditions. So a sponge can survive no matter if it's too hot, too cold, wet, dry. They're very adaptable organisms and they can survive anywhere. That's one reason why they have been around for so long, millions of years. So even if the brain doesn't tell it what to do, it still knows. Sponges reproduce in whatever environment that they blend in. Asexual reproduction, that usually happens through the budding or the flagnated cells help pieces of the sponge break off and develop into new individual sponges. Sexual reproduction is when they go into the water and they signal other sponges to absorb and fertilize the internal eggs. The results are larvae are mobile and they can swim freely before they settle into adult life, meaning they're still juvenile. So basically, they just get in the water and they're just like, hey, I'm over here, I'm signaling you, and that's how that works. That sounds silly. Sponges play important roles in ecosystems. So sponges not only help clean the air and circulate the nutrients, they also provide protection for other small fish and organisms, microorganisms, especially in like the coral reef. But one thing that they don't like to talk about is the coral reef is becoming endangered by like jellies that I will talk about in another chapter, and they're becoming endangered. So these sponges, they help filter and purify thousands of liters of water every day, and this ensures purifying the ecosystems and maintaining balance in coral reefs and other marine habitats. Sponges digest organic material and release nutrients back into the water. This helps nourish the nearby algae and plankton. By processing detritus, they help recycle nitrogen and carbon that is vital for the ecosystem. Sponges also help create the homes and hiding places for small fish and organisms. Some sponges produce bioactive compounds that help keep predators away and fight infections. So that would be the jellyfish. These chemicals can influence microbial communities and even inspire human pharmaceuticals because they produce bioactive compounds. And this draws interest into the pharmaceutical research for potential antibiotics and anti-cancer agents, which could potentially lead to a cure. Sponges have been around throughout evolution and they will remain important to the ecosystem for many years to come. They are part of evolution. So exam 2, question 2, we're going to be going over the water molecules. Sorry. Deep below the ground is where the water fills the small spaces between soil, minerals, and rocks. It's fresh and clean with little or no salt or pollution. Crazy to think when you think like dirt on the ground, but underneath all the water and stuff's clean. Because of this, the water has high water potential, which indicates it's ready to move to places where it's needed more. So water always goes where it's needed more. Say there's too much water over here, but over here needs some. That excess water from over here is going to travel to where it is needed more. And because of this, the water has high water potential and it indicates it's ready to move to place and where it is needed more. Water always moves from where it is more of it to where there is less. That's the basic idea behind water potential. Water moves toward places with lower potential, such as tree roots. A nearby maple tree uses its thin root hairs to soak up water. Water goes into the trees by osmosis, which is just the movement of water into the cells that have more salt or sugar on the inside. The root cells have lower water potential, so the water moves in naturally. Specific places in the cell walls are more aquafines that help water enter easily. Once inside the roots, the water starts its trip upward through the tree. Inside the tree, the water turns into vapor and leaves the tree through the little holes called the stomata. And this creates a tug on a tree that forcefully pulls the water upward from the roots. The water sticks to itself, which is also known as cohesion, and this sticks to the walls of the tubes, and this is also known as adhesion. And this keeps the water column strong. This process is called cohesion tension theory. It's how the water climbs up tall trees without using energy. When the water reaches the leaves, it either gets used for photosynthesis, which is making the food, or it leaves the tree as vapor. This is called transpiration, and this mostly happens when the sun is out and the trees or plants are warm. Everything goes through transpiration. The tiny stomata opens and closes to control how much water escapes. It lets you know if there's too much or not enough, or if they don't want to let any go. When water evaporates, it makes the pressure inside the leaf lower, so more water gets pulled up from below. It's like a tree molecule working together to keep the flow going. Once the water vapor is in the air, it floats into the air. It becomes part of something bigger that is known as evapotranspiration, which means evaporation and transpiration. Together, they help form cloud and rains, which is also known as condensation. It's a really cool process. Everything about this process is driven by the water potential. Water moves from where it is more available to where it is less. This happens because of natural differences in the pressure and concentration, not because the tree pushes or pumps water. The air has the lowest potential, which creates a strong pull to keep water moving forward. Sunlight and dryness makes the potential the stronger. Water movement helps the trees stay hydrated, get nutrients, and make food through photosynthesis. And it helps them to stay cool. For the earth, evapotranspiration helps control temperature, move water, and build weather systems. And I wanted to draw a little diagram. I'm sorry that we cannot see it very well, but it's the process of condensation, the rain, the clouds, irrigation, and we got a little flower. I wanted to draw a tree, but I can't draw a tree, so I drew a flower. And you can see the water and the droplets. They come down, but then they're evaporating up from the soil into the roots, to the stem, and to the leaves, where it's being released back into the air. So evapotranspiration is the process of the Earth's water cycle. It represents the combined loss of water from the land surface to the atmosphere. It's a critical component for understanding regional water balances, managing water resources, and assessing agricultural needs. Evaporation is the process where the water changes into the water vapor, and it rises into the atmosphere. It occurs directly from surfaces of soil, lakes, rivers, and wet vegetation. Transpiration is the process by which the plants absorb from the soil through the roots, and then it releases the water vapor from the small pores on the leaves from the stomata, like I was talking about, and into the atmosphere. Transpiration is vital for the plant health, helping to regulate temperatures and transport nutrients. And the evapotranspiration is the majority pathway for water to return to the atmosphere after precipitation. It's often responsible for returning a significant portion of precipitation back into the air, probably around 50–60%. This process is crucial for driving the moisture, inducing cloud formation, and ultimately contributing to the precipitation in other areas. Thank you guys, and I hope you have a good day.